He had no money, no proper education, just a printing press and a burning will to master himself. Born into a family of 17 children, he should have been forgotten, but he became unforgettable. This is the story of Benjamin Franklin, the man who invented himself. He was born in a small wooden house on Milk Street, Boston, January 17, 1706. His father was a candlemaker. The work was hard, the pay was low, and in a home filled with children, there was never enough food, never enough silence, never enough space to dream. But Benjamin dreamed anyway. He didn't grow up with riches. He didn't wear fine clothes. He didn't go to fancy schools. In fact, his formal education ended at just 10 years old. That should have been the end of his story. But for Benjamin, it was only the beginning. He didn't stop learning just because he left school. He learned because he had to. He read every book he could find. He borrowed, begged, and even snuck time in bookshops just to hold words in his hands. While other boys played, Benjamin listened, watched, observed. He asked questions no one else was asking. Why does the sun rise? What is lightning? How can one man change the world? The answers didn't come easy, but they stayed inside him, quietly growing, like sparks waiting to catch fire. At home, life was noisy and strict. His father wanted him to become a preacher. But Benjamin didn't feel called to preach. He felt called to create. He was different, too curious, too restless, too hungry for something more. At 12, he became an apprentice in his brother's print shop. The work was tough, ink-stained hands, long hours, and sharp words. His brother was harsh, but Benjamin stayed. He learned the tools. He learned the trade, but most of all, he learned the power of words. He knew that ink could move hearts, that paper could shape minds, and he wanted more than anything to shape his own. In secret, he began writing, late at night, by candlelight, using a false name, Silence Dogood. He slipped letters under the print shop door, essays filled with wisdom far beyond his years. The people loved them. They had no idea the writer was just a teenager. His brother, furious, jealous, controlling. So one day, Benjamin made a decision that would change everything. He ran away, alone, with no money, no job, no guarantee of safety. Just a young man with ink on his fingers and fire in his soul. He left Boston behind. Ahead of him, a city called Philadelphia. A new chapter, a blank page, and the chance to write his own destiny. He arrived in Philadelphia, tired, hungry, and soaked from the rain. No one knew his name. No one cared where he came from. He was just a teenager with a few coins in his pocket and ink on his hands. But as he walked through the streets, clothes wrinkled, hair uncombed, something burned inside him. Possibility. Benjamin Franklin didn't come to be comfortable. He came to become something. He got a small job in a print shop. Quiet, simple work. But he treated it like gold. Every sheet of paper, every drop of ink, he gave it his full attention. He worked harder than anyone else, showed up earlier, stayed later, read while others slept, watched while others wasted time. Philadelphia didn't just give him a job, it gave him a chance to build himself from the ground up. Still, life wasn't easy. He had no family there, no home of his own. But Benjamin never asked for comfort. He asked for opportunity. And when he couldn't find it, he created it. He saved every coin, studied every book, wrote every chance he could. He started building relationships, not by talking big, but by working small. He was quiet, but his actions spoke loudly. Soon, his talent caught the eye of others. he was offered a chance to go to London, a promise of support, growth, maybe even a future business. He said yes, it was a dream. But when he got there, the promise turned out to be a lie. No job, no money, no one to help, alone again. But failure didn't break him, it built him. In London, he worked in print shops, learned new skills, saw how the world moved, and realized power belongs to those who create value. So he trained harder, read deeper, listened closer. He was sharper now, stronger, still poor, but no longer powerless. Back in Philadelphia, he started writing again, publishing essays, sharing ideas, and finally, opening his own print shop. It was a risk. He had little money, but what he had was discipline. He lived simply, worked constantly, spent nothing he didn't have, and slowly, success came. He became known, respected, trusted. But Benjamin didn't just want to build a business. He wanted to build a life of purpose. This wasn't about money. It was about freedom. And with every word he printed, every idea he shared, every hour he sacrificed, he was becoming the man the world would one day remember. Success didn't slow him down. It made him hungrier. By now, Benjamin Franklin had built his own print shop. He was publishing newspapers, writing essays, and becoming one of the most respected voices in Philadelphia. But even with a growing business, he never stopped learning. While others chased comfort, Franklin chased truth. He woke before the sun. He read books no one else touched. He asked questions that made people stop and think. Why does lightning strike from the sky? How can fire warm a room more efficiently? What if we could see better at any age? To most, these were random thoughts. To Franklin, they were challenges. He started experimenting. He wasn't a trained scientist, no degree, no lab, just a man with a restless mind and a deep belief that knowledge should serve people. He invented the Franklin stove, a cleaner, safer way to heat homes in the winter. It saved wood, saved lives. He didn't patent it, didn't want profit. He wanted to help. Then came the lightning. He believed lightning and electricity were the same. People thought he was crazy, dangerous. But Franklin didn't chase safety. He chased answers. One stormy night, he flew a kite with a metal key attached. Rain poured, thunder roared, and then it happened. A spark. He had proven it. Lightning was electricity. The discovery echoed across the world. His name spread through Europe, but fame didn't change him. He stayed curious, humble, focused. He created bifocals, glasses that helped people see both near and far. He designed a musical instrument so elegant, even Mozart would later write for it. He organized fire brigades, improved postal systems, and built the first public library. Everywhere he looked, he asked, "How can this be better?" And when he didn't find an answer, he became the answer. But Franklin's greatest invention wasn't a stove, or a lightning rod, or even an idea. His greatest invention was himself. He was becoming the very thing he had always dreamed of, a man shaped by thought, refined by discipline, driven by purpose. But he wasn't finished, because the next chapter of his life wouldn't just change inventions, it would change the destiny of a nation. He could have stopped. He was wealthy now, respected, admired across cities and seas. But Benjamin Franklin wasn't chasing applause. He was chasing excellence, and he knew greatness wasn't something you found. It was something you built, one habit at a time. So he created a system, not for machines, for himself. He sat down, alone with a pen and paper, and asked the hardest question anyone can ask. How can I become better? Not richer, not more famous, better. He wrote down 13 virtues, 13 values that he believed, if mastered, would lead to a truly good life. Temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, humility. Each week, he focused on just one, measured his behavior, tracked his progress in a small notebook. He didn't do it for others. He did it because he believed discipline is freedom. He built his day with purpose. He woke at 5, asked himself, "What good shall I do today?" He worked, studied, served, and by night he asked, "What good have I done today?" It wasn't about perfection. He failed often, got frustrated, lost focus, but he never gave up, because Franklin knew self-improvement is not a destination. It's a journey. Every single day, you begin again. He shared his system with the world, not to show off, but to lift others. He believed every person, rich or poor, educated or not, had the power to shape their own future. And that power came from within. He wrote books, started clubs for thinkers and tradesmen, gathered people from different backgrounds just to share ideas. He believed in reason, in hard work, in lifting your character higher than your status. People began to see him differently, not just as a printer, but as a leader, a man who lived his values, who walked his talk. He didn't chase titles, he chased truth. And quietly, with no crown, no throne, no army, he became one of the most powerful men of his time, because the greatest power is mastering yourself. But soon, Franklin's greatest test would come, not in the lab, not in the library, but on the battlefield of history itself. He never asked to be a politician, but when the world needed wisdom, it turned to Benjamin Franklin. By now, he was more than a printer, more than an inventor. He was a living symbol of American possibility. And when tension grew between the colonies and the British Crown, Franklin was asked to speak. He didn't raise his voice. He raised ideas. He believed in freedom, in reason, in unity. But the more he spoke, the more he realized words alone would not be enough. He was sent to London to argue for colonial rights. At first, he believed there could be peace, that logic would win, that England would listen. But what he found was coldness, mockery, dismissal. They didn't see him as an equal, just a colonial, a nobody. Franklin returned home with fire in his chest. He no longer believed the colony should ask for freedom. He believed they should declare it. So he joined a gathering of men, brilliant, bold, but uncertain. They sat in a hot room in Philadelphia, arguing over ideas that could cost them their lives. Franklin didn't shout. He listened, waited, and when the time came, he spoke with quiet force. "If we do not hang together," he said, "we shall surely hang separately." It was not a joke. It was the truth. The Declaration of Independence was written, and Benjamin Franklin signed it. A 70-year-old man pledging his life, fortune, and sacred honor to an idea that hadn't yet survived a single battle. But he wasn't finished. America needed allies. So Franklin, old, tired, and aching, sailed across the sea again, to France. He didn't dress like royalty. He didn't try to impress. He showed up in a simple suit, plain glasses, and sharp ideas. And the French loved him. Not for how he looked, but for who he was. He built friendships, earned trust, and in time, convinced the French to support the American cause. Without that help, the war may have been lost. He returned to America as a hero, not because he fought with a sword, but because he fought with wisdom. He later helped shape the U.S. Constitution. He didn't agree with everything, but he signed it anyway, because he believed in progress over pride. He was old now, but his mind was still clear, and even as his body grew weak, his spirit never faded. Because Franklin understood something that many never learn. You don't need power to change the world. You need principles. He had nothing left to prove. Benjamin Franklin was now one of the most famous men on earth. Scientist, philosopher, founder, peacemaker. But fame meant nothing to him. He had never wanted to be remembered. He had only wanted to be useful. In his final years, his body slowed, his back bent, his hands trembled, but his mind, still sharp, still searching. He spent his time writing, thinking, advising. He believed wisdom should be shared, not stored. He warned against pride, against division, against forgetting where we came from. He knew that freedom wasn't a gift, it was a responsibility. People came to him with questions, with problems, with praise, and always he answered the same way he had lived, with honesty, with humility, with humor. He still believed in his 13 virtues, still believed in early rising, careful speech, clear thinking. He still asked himself every morning, "What good shall I do today?" And every night, "What good have I done?" In those quiet moments, he reflected on the path he had taken. From a poor boy in Boston with barely 2 years of schooling, to a man who had helped create a nation. He didn't see himself as a genius. He saw himself as a student of life, of nature, of human nature. And perhaps that's what made him so powerful. He didn't pretend to know everything. He just never stopped trying to understand. In 1790, at the age of 84, Benjamin Franklin passed away. The world mourned. More than 20,000 people attended his funeral. Rich and poor, black and white, farmers and philosophers. Because Franklin belonged to everyone. He had lived without titles, without armies, without crowns, yet he had influenced more lives than most kings ever could. Not with power, but with principles. Not with wealth, but with wisdom. And even in death, he gave one last gift, a simple message for those who would come after him. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. The candle burned out, but the light he left behind still shines. Benjamin Franklin did not die a king. He left no palace, no empire, but what he left was far greater. He left an idea that greatness doesn't come from birth, it comes from effort, that you don't need wealth or fame or luck. You need discipline, curiosity, and the courage to improve yourself one day at a time. He started as the 15th child of a poor candle maker. No college, no title, just a mind on fire and a soul that refused to settle. And by the time he was gone, he had helped invent the lightning rod, the public library, the fire department, the post office, the bifocal glasses, and the United States of America. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the loudest, but he was relentless. He built himself, piece by piece, morning by morning, word by word. Through heartbreak, failure, betrayal, and war, he kept learning, kept writing, kept building. Because Franklin believed something most people forget. You are not born finished. You are born unfinished, and life is the workshop. Every choice you make, every book you read, every time you choose effort over excuses, you shape yourself. He didn't chase perfection. He chased progress. He didn't try to be better than others. He tried to be better than he was yesterday. And that's the lesson. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be chosen. You don't have to wait. You can start right now, with what you have, with who you are, because in the end, the most powerful thing Franklin ever created wasn't a machine or a country or even a discovery. It was himself. He proved to the world and to you that no matter where you start, you can invent your own future. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you don't have to be born extraordinary. You just have to be willing to become it.